An explosion of bright color, fireworks blooming overhead and making it clear that a major celebration was underway in the night sky above the grand estate. Inside the golden ballroom, a string quartet played elegant music as high society guests mingled, danced, and enjoyed the lavish party. To draw the crowd's attention, someone tapped a spoon against a wine glass, the clear, sharp sound ringing through the hall. The guests turned their gaze toward a balcony overlooking the ballroom floor, where two people were standing, hoping to get the attention of everyone. It was Piggy and Sinclair, the hosts of the party. A visibly nervous and sweating Piggy began to speak, introducing themselves as the party hosts for today and members of the Oracle Club. Shaking with stage fright, Piggy stammered out a thank you to all the guests for coming. He then announced that their club's vice president, Dolores, would deliver the official welcoming speech. The three of them stood together, looking down at the sea of expectant faces filling the ballroom below. Dolores took a moment to calm herself, drawing in a deep breath. Stepping forward with renewed composure, she placed a hand over her chest and gracefully began her speech, once again offering a sincere thank you to everyone for coming to this important event. Continuing from the balcony, Dolores explained to the crowd that they saw this gathering as a precious opportunity to personally meet and greet the respected seniors of the business community. As she spoke, she clasped her hands together, and a bright golden light began to shine from them, a visible manifestation of her divine power. She finished her speech with a heartfelt wish, hoping that the connections made that evening would not be fleeting, but would grow into lasting relationships. A relationship that continues on even after the party. The golden radiance washed over the entire ballroom, bathing the guests in its warm, holy glow. They all looked up in awe, completely captivated by the powerful blessing. One guest, staring upward with an amazed expression, whispered to his companion that this must be the legendary blessing of the saintess, remarking on how truly dazzling it was. Unseen by the enchanted crowd, another figure moved silently through the party. It was Vikir, perfectly disguised as a waiter, a black masquerade mask covering the upper half of his face. He carried a tray of wine glasses, his expression unreadable as he observed the scene he and Dolores had so carefully arranged. The story flashed back to the conversation between Dolores and the night hound on the moonlit rooftop, revealing how the party started. Upon hearing his plan, Dolores exclaimed in shock over the idea of a party. The night hound confirmed it, telling her to host a glamorous celebration and send invitations to the Empire's tycoons, including Damian. Since rumors about the Oracle Club have spread throughout the business community, there won't be any issues regarding status. Dolores, however, was worried that they wouldn't have the money to host a party. A look of realization slowly appeared on her face as she glanced at him, and he confirmed her unspoken suspicion. The night hound explained that the profits from their investments were so immense that, even after paying back all their investors with large dividends, they would still have more than enough left to cover the cost of the party. With the financial burden resolved, a new anxiety took hold of Dolores. She holds the skirt of her nightgown nervously, her expression clouded with self-doubt. Looking down, she quietly asked if she would really be able to host a party filled with the business community's tycoons. Looking at her having doubts, the night hound reveals that during the party, he was going to sneak in. Hearing about his plan, her eyes widened in surprise and relief. He stood up, explaining that he needed to be there in person in order to make contact with Damian. Hearing that he would be by her side, Dolores's confidence was restored. Her face lit up with a bright, determined smile as she stood beside the night hound. Clasping her hands together with new excitement, she declared that if he was going to be there, then she would do her best and give it her all. Back at the party, Vikir moved through the crowd in his waiter disguise. He let out a small smile on his face. He could see that despite her earlier worries, Dolores was handling her role as hostess perfectly. Anyway, looking through the party, it seems like all the famous figures from the business community around the Empire have gathered, but the important question is, did Damian accept the invitation? Peeking from behind a pillar, his eyes carefully scans each of the guests. Soon, a small, triumphant smile touched his lips as he finally located his target. Seated in a private lounge area, sipping a glass of red wine, was the man himself, Damian Bourgeois, the director of the Empire's currency manufacturing factory. Damian was discussing the party's hosts with the men seated around him. One of the men remarked that the rumors about the student investment club were true. They had not only performed well in a mock tournament, but they also invested real money and gained a lot of wealth in the process. The fact that they booked the Obelia banquet hall, the largest and most extravagant, for a party says it all. One of the men commented that the students must have learned a valuable lesson about the power of money, suggesting they now understood that it could accomplish anything with money. Another man, however, disagreed. He argued that while money was powerful, there are many things that money can't solve in this world. An example he gave was that money could not, for instance, bring the dead back to life. The seemingly harmless remark had a profound effect on Damian. His expression darkened at once, his face twisting with a pain that seemed to rise from somewhere very deep, and he gripped his wine glass so tightly it trembled in his hand. The casual comment about being unable to bring the dead back struck him with immense force. Red wine splashed inside the glass as he slammed it onto the table, and his companions stared at him in shock at his sudden, intense reaction. Without another word, he abruptly stood up to leave. Confused, one of the men asked where Director Damian was going. Trying to compose himself, Damian gave a brief excuse, saying that he felt a bit overheated from drinking too much wine and was stepping outside for some fresh air and cool down. As he walked away, his friends were left staring after him, wondering what they could have said to cause him to have such a sour look on his face. Thinking that one of their comments had hit a nerve of his. From a distance, Vikir, still in his waiter disguise, had watched the entire exchange. This was the chance he needed. Damian sought refuge on a quiet balcony, standing alone under the full moon, clearly trying to calm the painful memories their conversation had dragged to the surface. He even gazes up to the night sky. His solitude was soon broken by a voice from behind him. It was the masked waiter, Vikir, who had followed him. Stepping out of the shadows, he posed a direct question, asking if the director truly believed there were things in this world that money could not buy. Damian turned to face the masked waiter, demanding to know why he would ask such a question at such a time and place. Vikir offered a polite apology for disturbing him, explaining that he had simply found the earlier discussion about the limits of money very interesting. Damian answered the question, telling Vikir that there were some things. Leaning against the balcony while gazing at the stars in the night sky. He continues to say that there were many such things. He explained his view: money is simply a means to achieve one's goal. He raised his gaze to the night sky and said that the things money couldn't accomplish were as countless as the stars, and that is why we're human. Seemingly ending the conversation, Damian walked past Vikir and placed a hand on his shoulder in a clear warning. He advised the waiter that eavesdropping was a dangerous habit for a servant. He needed to conserve his words if he wanted to live a long life. As Damian turned to leave, Vikir stopped him with one last, cutting question. He asked, "Among those stars, which is the furthest and brightest of them all?" Vikir's red eyes seemed to glow as he delivered his final line, showing its seriousness. He gave his personal thought, saying that it was about Damian meeting his dead daughter. Those words struck Damian like a physical blow. His face twisted in pure shock and horror, exposing the deepest and most painful secret in his heart. Enraged, his expression contorted with fury, Damian declared that the masked waiter clearly didn't understand what words meant. Holding onto the handle of his sword, he drew his ornate sword and stated that, as a consequence of running his mouth, he would take one of the man's arms. With a furious cry, Damian lunged forward, swinging his blade with deadly intent. However, Vikir easily deflects the attack with a single swing of his arm. Beelzebub had been summoned as he effortlessly deflected the sword strike, much to Damian's disbelief. Holding the demonic-looking blade, Vikir calmly asked Damian if he wanted to see his daughter. Damian, pushed past his breaking point, snarled, realizing that his opponent had no fear of death. He unleashed his own power, and his sword was covered in pure golden energy, which he brought down with immense force. But the attack was useless. With a single, powerful swing of his red blade, Vikir shattered Damian's weapon completely. The force of the impact sent Damian staggering back, his face slick with sweat and frozen in utter shock. Utterly overwhelmed and defeated, he demanded to know the true identity of this impossibly strong, masked waiter. Standing confidently beneath the full moon, with Beelzebub glowing with ominous power, Vikir revealed himself. He declared that he was the Night Hound, and that he had come to strike a deal with him.
Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.